They're pulling third graders out. We hope that, of course, they were in their tornado positions, and hopefully that some of them are going to be okay. Lance is on his way over there right now. You got to understand, when you go down to these scenes and you see this firsthand, not just through the prism of the television, but when you're there living it, it is an extremely emotional event for reporters as well as all those involved. And Lance is one of our best reporters, Emmy Award-winning reporter, and he's going to get that information for us. But he's human just like the rest of us, and it is a devastating sight to see these kind of things.
Mike Morgan, we're looking at earlier video of the storm that moved into Moore, but that storm is not finished yet. Tell us where it is now.
It is not. It's over by Meeker, and our storm tracker, Mark Dillard, still has a tornado on the ground on the northwest side of Meeker. Urgently right now, I have to pass this along to you. With this tornado warning now for Garvin County, this is a rapidly developing tornado that could be significant in size. There is a tornado warning in effect for Pauls Valley. It is heading directly for Pauls Valley, and we do have Reed Timmer. Reed Timmer is on that storm right now, and we'll be checking back with him. But if you're in Pauls Valley, it is heading directly into town, as you can see right now, 442 or before, and then from there it's going to head on up towards Stratford at 511. That is a intensifying supercell circulation, which appears to be a tornado either on the ground or developing to the ground right now. Reed Timmer is on it, but it is heading directly for Pauls Valley. That is an immediate tornado warning for you in Pauls Valley. Let's go to the North Doppler radar. Look at Meeker. Mark Dillard still has a tornado on the ground here. This is on the northern side of Meeker.
All right, we want to get you up to date on some of these tornado warnings that are ongoing here. That cell that produced that tornado and more still producing a possible tornado near Meeker. Tornado warning now for Lincoln County. That includes Chandler and Meeker and Sparks. And that rotation is going to be right around here on the southwest side of the cell. So right near Meeker and right along Route 62, and traveling now to the east at about 20 miles per hour. Also got a couple of rotating storms to the south of Oklahoma City. One that is well to the south, and a storm coming towards Pauls Valley and along 35. So we'll take a look at that, and you can see the well-defined hook echo there, and that is now coming into 35 in Pauls Valley. So heads up there in Garvin and McLean counties for a possible large tornado coming your way. Seeing rotation there in the signature just west of 35 right in here. Broad rotation, looks like a tighter rotation right there now, just off towards the west of east 1582 road. So again, heads up in Pauls Valley for a possible tornado, most likely tornado coming your way and towards 35. And we also have a storm that is now just to the north of the Tulsa area. We've been watching that. Let's take you south first of all. Tornado warning for Jefferson County, Cornish and Ringland and Ryan counties. A big supercell storm, well-defined couplet there, velocity signature that is now north of 32, and some of the towns in the path of that, it's now east of Ryan. It looks like it's going to be generally headed towards Ardmore and 35 as it lifts a little bit to the north of east, as we have been seeing again and again this afternoon. I want to bring in Brian Norcross once again and talk about some of what we have seen across the region. Maybe we can bring up some of those pictures of the tornado. And Brian, this is going to probably go down as one of the worst tornadoes in American history. I fear that the loss of life in this case may really be tremendous.
It's hard to imagine that everybody got out of there, because it's just so big, right? And very unfortunately, when we saw the aerials, we didn't see a lot of people moving around, right? That sometimes you see. Right. And it was wider than the Joplin tornado, estimating a half a mile or so wider. And in terms of intensity, it just looked like Joplin again, right? And so depending on the structures, now the good thing is in Oklahoma, there's no place with tornado plans and tornado structures and tornado culture like Oklahoma City, like that area, and Oklahoma in general. So I mean, that's what we hope, but it's just, I don't know. You don't want to say until you know, right? Sure. And we know that they're doing their search and rescue now, and we're going to know pretty soon, a pretty good version of what's happened. But you don't want to speculate.
Yeah, and I don't know if we can take a look at some of the damage aerials that we've been getting from KFOR, but the damage has been tremendous. There was a school that was hit, and we did get word that there may have been children in that school at the time that the school was actually holding the children for their safety, and so they may have been inside, and it did appear that that school school was severely damaged. Then we looked at a number of pictures of damage to neighborhoods, and we saw some areas where there had been quite a few homes that appeared to have been swept clean from their foundations. And you can only imagine that in cases where people did not have an underground shelter, and in that case, that they most likely the toll is going to be very high in that area.
Well, you know of at least 2 schools that were hit. Now, it's a little confusing because I heard a guy from Moore, Oklahoma, an official from Moore, Oklahoma, say they wasn't sure everything that happened in the schools because at least some of the schools or one of the schools was outside of the city of Moore, and so that's a different school district there. So exactly what's happened in those schools remains foggy, but we have heard that there is a rescue operation going on. I'm sure there's rescue operations going on at both schools, but we know specifically from KFOR that the elementary school there, they were rescuing children just a moment ago. We heard from KFOR.
Right. We want to go now to Jim Cantori. He is actually going into Moore. He's joining us on the phone right now. And Jim, this is just really, really difficult. This is, you know, we're all fascinated by weather at the Weather Channel, but this is as hard as it gets, seeing this level of devastation, which we know has occurred today.
You know, Carl, as much of an adrenaline rush as I had yesterday with you on the phone when we were, you know, coming in and chasing those tornadoes out in the middle of nowhere, really ever since last night when Shawnee got hit, and certainly now with what's happened around Moore. I mean, I feel awful, and we're heading back to Moore right now to, join certainly the fray of coverage. We'll bring you the best story that we can. We are probably about 60 miles to the south. We went after the southern storms, and even though the storm started to rotate back in Moore, we stayed on the southern storms. And now just turning around and getting out of these areas, these rural areas, is not that easy. But we're heading back to Moore, and we'll let you know, guys, what we find when we get there. My heart goes out to everybody, certainly in the last couple of days, that has been dealing with these devastating tornadoes. Carl, back to you.
All right, Jim, thank you so much. And we were just taking a look at some of those pictures of the devastation. I don't know if we can actually bring that video back that we had just moments ago. That was the video showing some of the houses there that had been swept off their foundations. Here you see the cars that have been piled up. This is, I believe, this is right next to one of these schools that we were looking at, and you can see how the cars are just piled up. They've been pushed into the school essentially, and the velocities that we were talking about in this case, Brian, are probably going to be on the order of the highest that we see when we talk about tornado wind speeds.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at it, it looks like EF5. I mean, and the way we talk about tornadoes, the same way we talk about hurricanes, is EF5 is just everything at the high end, right? We don't really, because we can't measure the winds. All right, back to KFOR.
Yeah, it certainly is. Physically, do you feel lucky? I mean,
I feel pretty lucky. Yeah, feel pretty lucky.
Did you see the tornado coming up on top of you here?
I didn't see nothing. Like I say, I couldn't hear no sirens. I couldn't hear nothing, and then it was real windy, and then all of a sudden everything just stopped. And being from Oklahoma, I said, that's not right. And so when I looked outside, I seen the debris flying over here, and I said, it's time. And I tried to let some horses go, and that's all there was.
And so it's Lando?
Lando.
Height?
Yes, sir. H-I-T-E.
Lando, if you mind staying with me for a second, because this is just the fact that you're almost outside and all this, we're actually going to take this in a second live, and it's kind of, that was like a practice run.
Okay.
And we'll have you kind of just rehash it for me. I can hear you. Yeah.
All right, so that was at that Orr family farm. That was the southwest of Moore, on the other side of I-35, not far outside of town, but it's a landmark there on the south side of Oklahoma City, and obviously someone working there and for whatever reason wasn't aware. Maybe out in that. All right, let's go back to KFOR.
And those parents waiting to hear word, my goodness.
So,
that's
Lance,
Plaza Towers, right, Lance?
That is correct. We're Plaza Towers, and everything within a square mile of this school has just been decimated by this storm.
Lance, are parents being kept back, or are they working to look for their children?
They are not allowing the parents to get onto the debris pile, obviously way too dangerous. There are down power lines, debris everywhere with nails, gas leaks, things like that. But there are parents who are trying to make it in here. We, fortunately, were able to follow some emergency vehicles and get access, but most of the folks have been stopped about a mile back from the destruction zone.
Have you seen children removed from the debris who have been transported?
We just saw one child, and he's standing now. It looks like he's hugging someone, maybe his parent, but we have only seen one child that has been transported. We have seen other people, other victims transported from here in the backs of pickup trucks. There are some four-wheel drives that are maneuvering in. I'm looking at a Jeep right now that seems to have clearance and was able to make it into this area.
All right.
But for the most part, it's very limited access for the average citizen to get in here. They're going door to door, searching these homes, searching storm shelters. We met a family as they were coming out of their shelter, and they were just devastated. They said that their neighbors were pounding on the door to get in as the tornado came in, and they didn't have the strength to open the door because the wind was so devastating. They don't know what happened to their neighbors.
And Lance, we want to verify this again. You're telling us that 75 children were in class when that storm hit Plaza Towers, and they believe those 75, they're searching for all of them right now. Is that correct?
That is what I'm being told by one of the rescuers here on the scene, that there were 75 people inside that building in the hallway, which was the secure place, the safe environment, the tornado shelter, if you will. But the walls are gone, cinder block walls that are 8 inches thick, and the roof is completely gone. It basically looks like it just collapsed in on itself, and there are search and rescue personnel on top of this 10-foot mountain of debris going through the pile, screaming for victims. So we're not anything, but we can only hope that they can search and that they continue to yield some positive results.
Absolutely.
And we do need some hopeful news, and you did tell us, for those just joining us, we're talking about the Plaza Towers Elementary School. 75 children and staff members believed to be in the school when the tornado hit. They were sheltering in the hallway, which was deemed their safe spot. There is no safe spot above ground for an F5 if this turns out to be that. But Lance, you were saying that you saw at least one child who came out of the debris and was hugging a parent or somebody. Is that correct?
That is correct. A young man, probably about 8 to 10 years old, I would say.
Okay, well, that's a good sign, Lance, if they were all there together.
Loaded. I told you about that Jeep, that four-wheel drive. She's being loaded into that Jeep right now, very gingerly, and she will be taken out of here. Also talked to a gentleman by the name of Pat Smith. He has a child in the school, pulled his child out 10 minutes before the tornado hit, and then came back to help in the search and rescue efforts. And he told me that they pulled out 30 kids alive, but the search continues for even more.
All right.
Okay, so you're saying of the 75 who were sheltered in that school, 30 were pulled out alive? Is that what you're saying?
I do know that there were 30 pulled out. I don't know if there's still 75 more in there or if we can track those 30, but I was told that there were some 75 in that area when the storm hit.
All right. Be very careful with this information. Yes.
Right. All right,
yeah,
Lance.
I mean, obviously, I'm going to continue to get more information from the folks out here. This is all very preliminary.
Right. Lance, we appreciate your effort as a parent yourself, and those parents like us watching it is a very difficult assignment that our Lance West has right now, but nothing compared to what those families are going through at this point.
Adam Mertz is on the scene as well in a different part of Moore. Let's go back to him right now. Adam?
Yeah, Linda, we're at Orr Family Farm, and I just spoke to a couple people who've been out here, and they say that some people were able to make it to a basement in one of the houses over here, but there were a lot of people who had to ride out this storm incredibly. They rode it out inside of these horse stalls, and one of those people that did this, Lando Height, Lando, describe for me the moments that this tornado came through here and what was going on.
Well, you know, it was all windy and stuff before the tornado came. I had no idea it was coming. It was just figured it was just like yesterday, you know, a big storm coming, and then all of a sudden it went quiet. And when it did that, being from Oklahoma, I came outside to see, and I seen debris flying over that way, and I thought I might have had a little while, so I tried to let some of the horses get, you know, loose and free out of their stalls so they'd have a chance. I didn't have very long at all, and I jumped into one of the stalls here, and that's what these here used to be, and they collapsed over on top of me, and sat a pickup truck on top of it, and it pushed it down this here cement way, and you know, it was just unbearably loud, and you could see stuff flying everywhere, just about like on the movie Twister, you know.
So you jumped into a stall, and how far did this push you? I mean, where'd you start off and where'd you end up?
Oh, approximately 100 feet it pushed us or so. I don't know if the camera can hit it or not, but there you see the back of a red pickup truck, Dodge Ram, sitting down the shed row there. And it pushed us approximately about 100 yards. It just slid us down the cement here. You know,
And was it just you in there?
It was just me. As far as I know, I was the only one over here in this barn. So far, it seems to be there's one person unaccounted for from in this barn. Everybody else, you know, was either already gone for the day or stayed over in a different barn. But you know, I stay here with the horses all the time. I'm an exercise rider, and I'm also the caretaker for Mark Lee.
Well, and that's the thing. If we could walk over here, you were telling me that this right here is basically where you lived. Yeah. So you not only worked here, this is where you lived.
Yes. You know, they used to have the saddles and everything over here. These were tack rooms, and this tack room here is where I used to live at. Here, you know, as you can see, my belongings, and then a couple fans in the shed row, and you know, it's lost everything.
What's going through your mind right now? I mean, you just survived something that that a lot of people probably wouldn't. You were outside when this happened. You've lost everything. I mean, like, has it even set in yet? I mean, how are people out here? How are they doing?
Well, the main thing is the horses. You know, it's these horses are how we survive. You know, it's these horses are what bring us our meals every day, what bring us our place to sleep, and we might have one horse left out of all of them, and you know.
Well, and that's the thing when you look out here. Describe for people what it looked like before. I mean, what would we have been looking at out here?
Well, basically, if you take a look at this here barn, there was 4 of them, one here, one down there, one right there, and another one down there.
So what we're looking at here is what the barns used to look like. This, and there were, I believe, 6 of those out here is what I was told.
Yes, and then this was the racetrack. And there was approximately 80 head of horses or so stabled at this facility.
So, so where we're standing now would have been one of those stalls.
Yes,
there.
Where we were standing is, as you look right here, each little spot, there was from here to that what used to be a stall door. There was, you know, 2 stalls right there, and on each side of these were stalls all the way down on every barn. And
well, Lando, I do appreciate your time, and certainly if you need anything, we'll be out here, all right? And just holler, all right? But again, when you look at this, there really is nothing much left out here. Like I said, the Orr family told me that they were able to get inside their house. It's a 3-level house with a basement, so the family members, they were able to get down there. They tell me that they rent out these stalls, so that's why they really don't know how many people may have been out here at the time that this tornado came through here, because people kind of come and go as they please. So again, people like Lando, who is out here, he works out here, he lives out here, honestly had no idea that this tornado was coming. It was just his, like a sixth sense, where he noticed that, you know, everything got quiet and immediately reacted to that. And Linda, Kevin, it more than likely saved his life.
Well, obviously the case, but we've been on the air since 2:30 giving live broadcasts on the progress of that storm. So please keep in mind that if you know someone in one of these areas affected, please call them and let them know. For some reason, they might not be watching television, may not be alerted. It's critical that people have this information so that they can seek cover. Obviously, he did, but many others did not. 75
to 100 horses killed out there on that farm.
We need to update the Plaza Towers Elementary as well.
All right, we've been watching KFOR's coverage there in Oklahoma City, and got a new tornado warning to tell you about that is well off to the south and west. west of Dallas and Fort Worth, but cells developing now south and west of Dallas and Fort Worth. So we're going to want to keep our eyes on this. And right now, tornado warning for Brown County, including Blanket and Birds, and also May. And that cell now moving off towards the east at about 25 miles an hour. You can see that there is a well-defined rotational signature there right along 183 and also along 387. Don't know if we've got some of the video from earlier today, and if you are just joining us and just hearing about this for the first time, major tornado hitting Oklahoma City earlier. It happened between 2:56 and 3:36 local time, central time, on the ground for about 40 minutes. The devastation has been tremendous. The damage path as much as 2 miles wide in some spots. We've seen entire neighborhoods that have been devastated. A couple of schools have been involved. We are hearing that some areas where children were sheltering were significantly damaged. We're not sure about casualties in those areas, but this is no doubt going to be one of the worst tornadoes that we have seen in American history when all is said and done. And the threat not over yet, as we are still watching a number of supercell thunderstorms now across parts of Oklahoma, and we'll have more on that coming up in just a moment. Let's get over to Alex Wilson now with some new information.
Well, Carl, you were just referencing the elementary schools that were damaged today in those Oklahoma City areas, really South Oklahoma City into the Moore area. And one of the schools that we are hearing about is the Plaza Towers school. This appears to be a K-6 or pre-K basically through 6th grade. So this is an elementary school. We're talking about kids up to about the age of 12 years old. This is on Southwest 11th Street, so it is just off to the west of Interstate 35. This would be one of the harder hit areas. And you can see, looking at this footage, the city's almost on a grid. We have these streets and then at right angles, the other streets. So it's looking at like a grid system with the neighborhoods, schools in between. This isn't too far from the Warren Theater that did see significant damage. Also, the Moore Medical Center is nearby to this Plaza Towers school, but we are hearing reports about 75 students and teachers that were seeking shelter. Again, this storm hit around 3:30 local time. We are going to look at video. I'm sorry, what was that? That's right. We have the video. This is the area roughly where this Plaza Towers school was, and you can see these grids basically just wiped out. These neighborhoods in between these major streets that would go in between the neighborhoods. That Plaza Towers school around this area, again, Southwest 11th Street, about 75 students and teachers were sheltering, and you can see there is some of that video of that school just decimated. And look at some of these homes around the area just completely ripped apart. Now, likely this was coming around the time that the school would have let out. This would have been 3:30 about local time, so most likely an elementary school either getting ready to let out or soon letting out. So most likely these kids were being held. Many of the local schools have finally begun to let kids go. We have seen reports of Westmore High School beginning to dismiss students, other Oklahoma City area schools dismissing. Now, there is a search and rescue area at the Warren Theater parking lot. This is very close to that Plaza Towers school. Now, as we heard from the KFOR coverage, it did seem like about 30 children, according to one witness, had been pulled out of the debris of this Plaza Towers school. No word on whether or not they were seriously injured or not. That witness just said he had seen about 30 people. No word if that goes into the 75 students and teachers that were seeking shelter, or if that's in addition to the 75 students and teachers that they were going to continue to look for. But that search and rescue is nearby at that Warren Theater parking lot that did also sustain some serious damage. And you can see, as we look at some of the video, most likely some parents looking for their kids as they head over to the area. Now, officials have said try not to head into that area because it's still very unsafe to do so. But we are watching, I'm sure, some very nervous parents going and looking for their children at that Plaza Towers school. And when we talk about a pre-K through 6th grade school, we're obviously talking about very young children. Pre-K starting around 4 or 5 up to the 6th grade, which would be about 12th grade or 12-year-olds. So some young children most likely trapped in this building as those rescuers head out. And as we look at some of that area footage, you can see what does appear to maybe be some young children. You can see a little girl in a pink sweater, also some young children with maybe parents nearby. Now, as parents continue to look for people, one of the nearby areas, again, that people are heading to is the Warren Theater. That's a local search and rescue area. So officials have said, please stay out of Moore and off the roads. We've most likely still had the power lines, things very treacherous around the Moore area. Kids were in school at the time, so they were seeking shelter. We heard in their hallway. A lot of times here we do say that that's the safest place to head to, that most interior level, those hallways often without the windows. So a lot of times you hear of your children going to the school drills, or if you're a teenager, you know that your school takes you in for those tornado drills. You sit in the hallway, you put your head on your lap, and you huddle up into a ball. Unfortunately, as we take a look at some of this footage of these complete neighborhoods just decimated, unfortunately, I know a lot of people worried about the worst with the students in the Plaza Towers school. Another school that we are hearing about that could have seen some significant damage, Briarwood Elementary. Several reports coming out that this was the other city or other school, and this also is a pre-K to 6th grade school. So unfortunately, both of the schools that were hit did school very young children. No word on injuries there, how many people may or may not be trapped, whether or not there were students there at the time. But the Plaza Towers school, the one that we are looking at the damage in and around the area of, this apparently reportedly did have 75 students and teachers, and those search and rescue efforts will continue around there. And we're going to continue to watch this, Kim and Kelly, and we will update you on the latest as this turns into a very big story around the Oklahoma City and Moore area, as search and rescue will obviously be the top priority as we go through the next few hours and perhaps days.
All right, thanks, Alex. Good information there, and it's just very tough pictures to see, especially being a parent and hearing about these schools. And if you're just joining us, a major tornado destroying parts of Moore, Oklahoma, and now we're getting word of several hundred people now being treated at the Warren